I would encourage all of you, especially if you're going through a rough time right now, every time you hear one of those I can't thoughts, you open your mouth and say out loud, if you're in a place where you can, I am stronger than I think I am, and I can do whatever I need to do.
Yet at some point, you got to define who you are. You got to define what your standard is and what your values are. At some point, you got to start deciding, you know what? I'm not like everyone else. I don't think like everyone else. I'm not going with the crowd. I'm not going with the culture. The moment that you actually conquer the urge, all of a sudden you get stronger and the urges get weaker. But it will never happen until you determine, I am not like the crowd. I'm coming out of the crowd. I'm a part of the minority.
Find out what it is you want and go after it as if your life depends on it. Why? Because it does. Most people go through life quietly and safely tiptoeing to an early grave. People that have found their passion. People that have found the things that they can pour their lives into. People that found the things that they love. Those people live longer. And I think that's everybody's desire in life. You got to live what's in you. Life is just too short and unpredictable.
They have successfully convinced you that you are useless. And they use you to do what they want you to do. They meaning your culture. And you obey them because you don't know who you were born to be. When I discovered who I was, I became free from them. I began to dictate my own value. Therefore, I told them, you need me. Come on, say it. You need me. Say it like you feel it. You need me. See, you become a leader when you discover that one discovery. They need me. The world needs me.
Beware of vision, dream, and passion killers. Family and friends in most cases. Family and friends in most cases will be the first to try and talk you out of something that you're passionate, excited about, and that you have a vision for. Most of the people that have no dreams will wake up every day trying to talk you out of your dreams. It's really not expected of them to support you and have your back anyway. And if you're trying to do something with your life, they're going to try and figure out a way to shut you and your plans down as well.
Self-confidence is an internal game. You do not need external accolades, external admiration in order to build self-confidence. It's all done internally. You control this. And you control this by beginning today to keep the promises you make to yourself. And you have to stack the deck in your favor. Stack the game so you win. You must acknowledge it when you do it to you to give yourself credit to create confidence momentum. So whether that's setting the deck where you're going to get up a little bit earlier, you're going to eat a certain amount of calories in your fitness, you're going to spend a certain amount of time with your children or your parents.
See, if you start learning more things and finding out and experimenting with your life and finding out what else fits for you, here's what you discover, that as you start working with it, and the more you do it, the more you realize, the more creative you can become. And then you say, wait a minute, you know, this comes much more easily than I realized.
Your mentality is more important than your location. If you don't change as a person mentally, you will stay where you are physically. Leadership begins with thinking. So my question is, what is your philosophy of leadership? Well, why don't you believe that you could own a company? Why the first thing you look for is a job instead of look for a business? Why do you go to college and study an area that guarantees employment rather than guarantees deployment? Because your hard drive is stuck.
If I want to have a healthy mind, I must feed my mind with truth. Now, we all know the importance of nutrition. Good food and good calories cause you to be better, to be stronger, to be healthier, to have more energy. The same is true in your thought life. I must feed my mind, not with junk, not with poison, but with truth. And in your small group, you're going to look at the different kinds of things you can put into your mind. You will know the truth, and the truth will set you free.
The problem is you now believe your own lies so convincingly that you're now miserable because you're trying to chase someone else's life, all while ignoring your own life and your own path, all while ignoring what God has in mind for you. What is the vision for your life? What are the ideas and the dreams for your life? Who are you? What are your gifts and talents? What is your ultimate destiny and your goals?
No matter what package trouble comes in, trouble's trouble, isn't it? And each of us, you know, when you're having trouble, there's always somebody that's worse off than you are. Well, that's true and that's good, but that doesn't mean that your trouble isn't still very important to you. If you're like me, when you have a problem, it's very easy to turn in on yourself and do nothing but think about what you're dealing with, and that's one of the worst things that we can do.
Wherever you are right now, I'm saying to you, you've got at least 3 or 4 or 5 talents that you are not even aware of right now. And you'll never be aware of them unless you come outside your comfort zone to see what it is that you might have a knack for, that you haven't discovered as yet. See, most people never discover their true potential because they figure that they're one-dimensional. And they don't try and stretch themselves and learn more.
We are educated to be employed, not to be deployed. Seeds deploy themselves and become trees. Fish deploy themselves and they swim. Birds deploy themselves and they fly. We are the only creatures God created who don't deploy ourselves, because our culture doesn't allow it. You got to get free from the culture and discuss yourself with yourself and say to yourself, self, am I who I really am?
See, whatever you decide to do, look at it and find out what is it that I have that I could bring to the table. Where is the opening for you? There's room for you out here in the arena called life. There's room for you to come out and live your dream. Don't allow but to keep you in the corner or keep you up in the bleachers looking at life, being a spectator, not being a participant, making a difference in life. All of us showed up to give something, and that nobody's going to give that service that you have to give. No one's going to produce your product. No one's going to write your book.
You are not your accomplishments. You are not your possessions. You are you. You are perfect. You are beautiful. You were born to do something great with your life. And this is the social media insidious influence it has in our lives. People think, I don't feel good about myself. I've got this self-doubt. The gateway to me feeling more self-confidence is if I could possess more things. Yes, having nice things will make you feel better about yourself. Yes, accomplishing things certainly is a reinforcement for self-confidence, but it's not the pathway to getting it.
Running the race of life is not about beating people. It's about releasing yourself. That's why great leaders never compete with anyone. They try to see how much of themselves they can release tomorrow. It's leadership. I will never compete with you. I'm too original.
Now, habit becomes your servant, not your master, once you understand self-discipline. See, on uphill climbing, everything worthwhile is uphill. Can I tell you on downhill slide, nothing worthwhile. There's nothing worthwhile. If you're going uphill, you get wins, you get losses downhill. If you're uphill, you're preparing. If you're going downhill, you're repairing. I know people every day, they just repair. They just are fixing yesterday every day. High morale is uphill climbing. Low morale is in downhill sliding. All of this uphill climbing can be described in the phrase self-discipline. It takes a highly self-disciplined person to uphill climb.
You continue to forsake your purity and you give it away time and time again. And when people ask you, why are you lowering your standards? Why are you doing that? The best answer you got is because everyone else is. And you're sitting here and you're so afraid to be alone and single that you're tolerating this toxic relationship and you're convincing yourself that it's all gonna be right. Let me just be honest with you. If you have to convince yourself it's right before marriage, you're gonna have to brainwash and lie to yourself after marriage.
and you begin to do these things you say you're going to do. You say simple things like, I'm going to lay out my clothes the night before I go to bed every night, before I go to sleep, so when I wake up, that decision's made for me. And believe it or not, the fact that you just do something that simple that you then deliver on begins to build confidence. You say, I'm going to stretch in the morning when I get up, and you do it. All of a sudden, when you just begin to do the things you tell yourself you're going to do, you begin to build self-confidence, which is this reputation with yourself.
Self-discipline is the bridge between good intentions and good actions. Good intentions is on one side of the water, and good actions is on the other side. And the bridge is self-discipline that takes our good intentions and turns them into good actions. The question is my attitude about self-discipline, is it a tunnel or is it a bridge?
See, if you don't decide to act on your dream, if you don't decide to make a decision to live your life, if you don't decide to step into your fears, if you don't decide to say yes to your life, it will never work for you. Time for doing, that's the time right now. Time for acting on your dream, holding on courageously, as Winston Churchill said, and not lose enthusiasm. Time to look around and become creative and see what need or service that you can provide, so that people will talk about you being a master at what you do, because of the commitment of pride and excellence and high standards that you've set for yourself.
If it's a tunnel, then self-discipline is heavy, because it's always about what I'm going through. Well, I'm going through this. Well, when you're going to something, you're on the bridge. When you're going through something, you're on the end of the tunnel, in the tunnel, hoping there's some light at the end of the tunnel.
I want you to change your definition of success from destination to perspective, right? Because that's all success is. It's a perspective. And the more and more we see ourselves being successful, the more and more we're likely to keep mimicking it and finding other ways to make ourselves better, because we realize what we're capable of.
A stronghold could be an attitude like, I'm never going to forgive that person. That's a stronghold. I will never amount to anything. That's a stronghold. If something bad's going to happen, it's going to happen to me. That's a stronghold. It's a lie that you are believing. If you're going to learn to be mentally healthy, you've got to learn how to demolish strongholds in your life.